All right, so SpaceX. Huh. Another Starship test. Another
Yeah.
kaboom.
It's
It's a
what is
whole.
going on over there?
I mean, space is hard, right? It's like the ultimate proving ground for technology, and
Then it
sometimes
fills up.
it blows up. Yeah, and this latest Starship explosion, it's got everyone talking.
Hmm.
So we've been digging into some articles and reports,
Hmm.
and we're gonna break it all down for you. So whether you're like a diehard space fan or you just kind of see these headlines and you're like, "What's the deal with this whole Mars thing?" We're
Yeah.
gonna unpack it all right here, right now.
Okay, so before we get into the nitty-gritty of this particular explosion, for anyone who needs a refresher,
Yeah.
what exactly is Starship?
So Starship is basically a two-stage reusable rocket system.
Hmm.
It's like imagine a rocket on top of another rocket.
Yeah.
The first stage is called the super heavy booster. That's like the
Mhm.
muscle, lifts the whole thing off the ground.
Okay.
Then you have the Starship upper stage. That's the one that actually detaches and goes off into space.
And this thing is huge, right? Absolutely massive. Like, we're talking Statue of Liberty stacked on top of itself, kind of huge, 403 feet tall.
Wow.
Yeah, and the whole thing is designed to be fully reusable. So that's a really big deal in terms of like, cost and efficiency for future missions.
Okay, so set the scene for us.
Mhm.
Walk us through what happened during this launch.
So the launch starts off and everything seems to be going, pretty much according to plan. The Super Heavy booster does its job. It lifts Starship off the launch pad. And then here comes the crazy part.
Yeah.
They actually catch the booster midair with this giant crane.
It's wild. I saw the footage. I couldn't believe it. I was like, is this real life?
It's like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, right?
Right.
But the good times, they don't last forever because, shortly after separating from the booster, the Starship upper stage starts spinning out of control. Some of the Raptor engines shut down, and basically it all ends in a how do we say this politely?
A rapid, unscheduled disassembly.
Yeah, let's go with that. An energetic event, as SpaceX called it.
An energetic event. So yeah, we've all seen the pictures. Big old fireball.
Yeah.
And people on the ground in Florida and even as far as the Bahamas
Yeah.
reported seeing fiery debris streaking across the sky.
It's pretty wild to think about that, right? Like you're just going about your day and suddenly there's like flaming rocket parts falling from the sky.
Not ideal. And speaking of not ideal, the FAA had to ground air traffic for a while.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just, a little bit of airspace.
Yeah.
It was significant.
And that right there, that kind of highlights, the risks involved. These launches are getting more ambitious. I mean, we're talking controlled explosions here.
Yeah.
And yeah, SpaceX, they really emphasize safety, but two failures in such a short time. Yeah, it does make you wonder.
Yeah, it does make you wonder. And the FAA, they're in a bit of a tough spot here, right?
Yeah, they are. Because they're investigating this latest mishap, right? But the thing is, they're also still investigating the last Starship explosion back in January.
So they approved this launch, even though the investigation into the previous one was still going on.
Exactly. And that's sparking some controversy, right? Because some people are saying, hey, hold on, maybe we need to slow down a bit here.
Right.
Make sure everything is really, really checked out
Mhm.
before we launch these, potentially hazardous rockets again.
Right. So it's this balance between, pushing the boundaries of space exploration, but also being responsible.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay. But let's not forget what they were actually trying to do here, which was not just blow stuff up, although it seems like that's what happened.
Yeah.
This was actually a really important test for a future Mars landing.
Right. Absolutely. Because, landing on Mars is way harder than coming back to Earth. It's like, think about it. You're trying to land on a planet with a completely different atmosphere, gravitational pull, all of that.
Right.
And so these tests, yeah, they're setbacks, but
Yeah.
they're also giving SpaceX a ton of data. They're figuring out what works, what doesn't work. It's all part of the process.
So are they learning from these mistakes? I mean, it seems like other space programs, they're moving a little bit slower, a little more cautiously, and they're making progress.
Yeah, and that's a valid point. I mean, there's definitely different approaches out there, right? You've got the slow and steady approach, and then you've got SpaceX, who's kind of known for their, move fast and break things kind of philosophy. And which approach is ultimately going to be more successful? Well, only time will tell.
Right. Okay, so back to this specific test. What was SpaceX hoping to achieve?
So this time they were aiming for a near full orbit around the Earth. So Starship would go almost all the way around and then splash down in the Indian Ocean.
Okay.
And that was a really important test for their landing sequence. Figuring out how to bring Starship back down to Earth safely is crucial if they want to get to Mars.
Right. And let's not forget Elon Musk, the guy behind SpaceX. He's got this really, really ambitious goal, which is getting humans to Mars by the end of this decade.
Yeah, that's a pretty aggressive timeline. And after these two explosions, well, it does make you wonder, is it even possible?
Yeah, is that even realistic? I mean, we're halfway through the decade already.
Right.
So, big question. After all this, these explosions, the delays, can SpaceX actually get to Mars by 2030?
It's tough to say for sure. I mean, space exploration is full of challenges, right? And these setbacks, while they're disappointing, they are part of the journey.
Yeah, it's like Thomas Edison,
Exactly.
had to try 1,000 times or whatever before he got the light bulb right.
You got to break a few eggs to make an omelet, as they say.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. SpaceX's Starship explodes again. They're pushing the boundaries of space travel, but also maybe pushing their luck a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely not afraid to take risks, and, that can lead to spectacular failures.
Yeah. But sometimes those spectacular failures lead to, incredible breakthroughs. So who knows? Maybe they'll figure it out. Maybe we will see humans on Mars by the end of the decade.
I mean, one can hope, right?
One can hope. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. But hey, keep thinking about it. Do you think SpaceX can really pull this off? Is
Yeah.
Mars in reach, or is it just, a pipe dream?
Yeah, it's a question worth pondering for sure.
All right. We'll see you next time.
See you later.